Welcome back to We Still Like Each Other, the podcast. I'm Travis.
And I'm Stephanie.
And this is the podcast where we show that the honeymoon stage can last forever.
Forever and ever.
Hey, baby.
Hey, daddy.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. You back with your robotic shit.
You know why? Because right before you hit record, I was thinking of like that Drake song from one of the memes we looked at. Your pussy is calling my name. And that's like in my head as you're like, record, and I'm like trying to be normal.
Okay. And I sent you the new YouTube rules, and you just, saying words like cat and...
That's not a curse.
Okay.
Okay. My bad.
It's all good.
How was your week?
It was good. It was short. We didn't have work on Monday. And then I think later in the week, I made plans with my brother, trying to be more intentional in 2023.
Okay.
So invited him out for some drinks. He obliged, and we linked up. So that was nice.
Good. Love that for you. This is your sign to be more intentional and make plans with people that are important to you.
If I can do it, you can do it. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, Travis had a good time.
Yeah. And more so, like, I love being home. And when it's time to leave work, I'm running to that bus. So if I took time away from that, you can too.
Yes, definitely. And then anything else?
I don't know if I'm missing anything in between, but I think a nice cherry on top was the Lintons coming to visit us.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Shamara and Ashley. Yeah, it's always fun. Ashley pops in a lot more than Shamara, so it's nice having them together. Because when I love her to death, but when she's here by herself, I'm like, damn, I wish Shamara was here too. So
she gonna be like, oh, really? When she hears that.
But
yeah, because usually when she comes alone, it's like girl time for me and her. And this was like us time. It was nice because we don't really hang out with too many couples, at least not that often because everybody's so busy. And we got put onto a new game.
Forget the name, but I do.
Rumi Cube.
I
think that's how you pronounce it.
I was hooked immediately.
Yeah. It was like a very nerd game, but it was fun.
Yeah, could definitely have to order
it. What I was going to say. Oh, I got really drunk off 3 beers.
I didn't think we were going to talk about it, but here we go.
Because I literally cannot believe it.
So Shamara and Ashley they enjoy IPA beers. I personally don't like the taste, so I knew I wasn't partaking. And we did have some other alcohol I could have drank, but I just know myself. One, I was already pretty tired, and I know how I get. So I think I had a seltzer, and I had orange juice, not at the same time, just spread out. And my lovely wife over here was throwing them back like...
No, that's where you're messing up the story. I literally had 3 beers only.
Okay, but those IPAs have different levels of alcohol content, right?
Yeah, but I felt fine, and then when I went to bed, the room was spinning. It was bad. I was like, oh, Lord, why did I do this to myself?
I could tell a little more of the story or no?
Yeah, go ahead. So don't get crazy.
So I went to bed, like her, Shamara, and Ashley were hanging out a little bit longer, but I just knew I was done. I go to bed. I get shook up to I need hope. And then first thing I'm thinking, like, what the fuck's going on? But plus the baby's in, he's sleeping. So I'm like, shh. And then we go to the bathroom and she's just like, I don't feel good. Like, just, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see me swaying back and forth.
And I swear I only had 3 beers.
I don't feel good. I'm just like, first of all, bring it down. And I'm like, what do you need? What do you need? Do you need to throw up? I can't. So that was, and then I'm just like, listen, we got to go to bed. And in my head, it's kind of fucked up, right? But I'm like, I just need to get back in bed. I'm so tired. So I'm just like, you'll be okay. Just come lay down.
You kept trying to get me to lay down.
I didn't know if you were going to be okay, but I'm just like, I need her back in the bed.
Imagine I would have threw up in the bed.
So we got a bucket and you laid back down and you complained, not complained. You complained a little bit more, but you held it down. You laid down.
Yeah.
And thankfully the baby didn't wake up because that would have sucked for me.
I didn't throw up.
She didn't throw up. She woke up feeling little bit better. And I think you're still, on the tail end of it. Like
Yeah, eating was a little difficult today.
So what did we learn?
No, I can't have coffee and I can't drink beer.
Or just know your limits.
But 3 beers?
But they're IPAs, and I think one of them went as high as 9.5.
And when's the last time I really drank? I have like low tolerance too.
Listen, I was just telling Steph earlier. For me, if we're going out for drinks, I'll be that guy that gets a Pepsi. Because one, I know myself. I'm not going to be any fun. I'm not one of those people that comes alive with alcohol.
Sleepy.
I get sleepy. That's all it does. Usually I'm the guy driving, so that's another reason why I don't drink. But even if I have the choice, nice Pepsi, extra ice, does the trick.
That's wild.
You gonna join the wave? Or just
maybe
one
not.
beer?
Or just have one, and then like maybe I have to do like water in between each drink or something, or make sure I'm eating. I remember in college I would eat mad bread and stuff like before a night out to prepare my stomach for like drinking. I don't know if I mentioned this last episode, but I also learned that I can't really have much coffee. It's been making my stomach hurt, making me nauseous. So I feel like I'm in my 30s and it's starting to hit me where my body just can't tolerate.
It's so crazy. It's kind of like your allergies to dogs. It just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, definitely was never allergic until like 2018, 2019, I suddenly became allergic. It was so weird.
Do you think it's just like some latent effects of pregnancy or just life is...
I don't fucking know. I need to see an allergist because I'm like, who knows what else I might have developed an allergy to, and I don't want to find out by like nearly dying.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to go see an allergist and get a full like test or screening.
And the coffee is not so much an allergy, just it makes you feel...
It could be like some type of allergic reaction to it. Somebody told me that coffee tends to have like levels of mold, and like most people can tolerate certain levels of mold, or maybe I'm like losing my tolerance for it. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
But I love coffee and I'm sad.
I like
and
tea.
Very tired.
I feel like tea goes with your life trajectory.
I'm a tea girl. All right. Anyway, you got a did you know for us, babe?
I do.
You're not ready. Wow.
It was open. I don't know what happened. Did you know? Did you know women speak about 20,000 words a day while men speak about 7,000 words a day?
What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say, shut the fuck up.
Listen, I don't know if that's true for all women, but I probably am on the higher end of that. Like I probably speak like 40,000 words a day.
Yeah. And outside of this podcast.
Yeah, I talk a lot.
And I just...
It was my funny last night. So Travis said how I stood hanging out with Ashley and Shamara a little longer. They were like getting ready to settle down, and I went upstairs, but I stood in the loft area and I looked over at them, and then I just started talking again. And then I go, y'all probably dying for me to go in my room and shut the fuck up, right? And they didn't say no. They kind of laughed like, yeah, girl. I was like, oh shit. All right, bye. Plus the beers, I was talking.
He's like, other humans.
Exactly.
What's it like outside?
Yeah. I feel like even growing up, I was known to talk a lot.
Do you think there's anything to women speak more?
Maybe there's some evolutionary reason for that. Like in terms of the roles women have traditionally taken, that just having those people skills, communication skills serve the purpose.
You digging deep.
Yeah. But I've also known guys that talk a lot. So I don't think it's necessarily a gender thing. I think it's a personality thing. Because Eli, our son, is like me. He talks a lot.
And doesn't pick up on the cues to...
He's only 8. He'll pick up on it. I feel like I was going to talk about that. Like, eventually in growing up, I started to realize, like, I take up too much space. People are going to be annoyed by me talking so much. Allowing other people to speak, or people don't need to know every detail of what happened this weekend. And it's, you know, it took time and like me catching myself of like, oh, no, I'm talking too much. So he'll get it eventually.
Hopefully.
And what do you think what are your thoughts on that, on the fact that men supposedly speak a lot less than women do?
I just think when we speak, we say some profound stuff, and we're not just speaking just for the sake of speaking.
Profound stuff. Okay, sure.
Why is the air quotes on stuff?
Because that's not profound. What the hell is stuff?
That's just a blanket example of the things we could potentially say.
You're full of shit. So what do you think? We're like women are full of fluff, like they say too much. I just think
stuff? Women work out their thoughts in real time, whereas men are more like, kind of like double Dutch. Y'all don't mind hitting that rope a few times, whereas we're waiting for that right pocket to say something. I'm not saying, and maybe saying that we say more profound things is silly, but what I mean is that we're just, no, it's like the worst thing you've ever said. But I just think we're more intentional with our words.
And I'm thinking in my head, and I know a few men who are like, even in relationships, they're the talkers.
Maybe we could do some
put a poll on Instagram, like,
does your man talk a lot?
Or like,
are you a talker?
Who's the talker in the relationship, the man or the woman in your relationship?
And I think it matters, is it like, what's the dynamic behind closed doors, right? Because behind closed doors, I think, would you say I talk a good amount?
You talk more than you do like in public or in social situations. Like when you and I are together, you're definitely more talkative. Or when we're in intimate settings with like friends we're really comfortable with, you speak more. Whereas in social situations or in situations where around new people, I'm the one to like initiate conversation and kind of break the ice, and like I like to try to help people feel comfortable or whatever. And I think part of that also is growing up having like resting bitch face. That like if I didn't talk and I didn't like let people know, like, you know, I'm approachable and kind, like I would be looked at as a scary bitch. So that could be part of it.
Yeah. We'll talk about it more next week, but we're going out tomorrow. And I just know that's going to be the case. I'll just wait for you to, you know, open up the conversation.
How about challenge yourself? Take the lead.
I don't know. Like, I'm so self-conscious about it too, because even hanging out with Shamara and Ashley, there were times where all three of you were like saying a lot, and I was just I was chilling. Like I wasn't, but then at a certain point, I'm like, damn, I should input something just so they know I'm still here.
I didn't feel a way. I think because the three of us went to the same college, so I think we have a lot of background history information that we kind of relate to.
But I didn't feel left out. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say I felt on the outside. I just feel like I wasn't. There were just times where y'all all three were rambling, or maybe it felt like it. And then I'm just like, I hope they know I'm okay in this moment, and I'm not like bored. I
think we all knew. None of us felt like you were bored or out the loop. We noticed when you were tired and ready for bed, though.
I was struggling. I have a tell when I'm tired.
I can't remember what we were talking about at that end right before you went to bed. But I knew that it was like maybe a difficult conversation we were having, or awkward conversation we were having. So then when you went to bed, I remember Shamara checked in like, is he just tired or was he upset about that conversation? I'm like, oh no, he's definitely just tired. But now for the life of me, I can't remember what we were talking about.
I don't even know what the fuck. I could have.
Now it's like, you weren't. I know you weren't, because it was like a topic that. Wait, you're saying you could have been mad?
No, I'm saying I don't even know what y'all were talking about.
Oh, so no.
No. I was tired.
What was it?
It'll come to.
Damn, now I'm like, I want to know. But I was like, no, he's just tired. He's like, that's just how he is. Fuck, it's gonna bug me. But yeah. You ready to move on to topic 1?
Yeah, let's do it.
So I asked our close friends. So if you want to be a part of our close friends on Instagram, it's part of one of the perks of being in our top tier on Patreon. And I had kind of asked, like, what do you want me to talk about? And I got a bunch of different suggestions, but I thought this one was good. How do you know when it's over? When should you walk away?
Don't ask me.
So then I had this follow-up question. What signs did you ignore in a previous relationship that allowed you to stay longer than you should have? So now in hindsight, what were signs that should have been like, okay, this is a sign that I should leave this relationship?
And I'm not saying like I was an angel in this relationship, but I think when I caught her cheating, it was like, all right, I should go.
Yeah.
The
fact that you're saying you weren't an angel reminds me of something I thought about. Like, even if you are the person that's cheating, like if you realize that you can't respect the boundaries of the relationship, that you're having too much FOMO and you want to explore other people, that's a sign that you need to be out of the relationship. One is it's fucked up to the person who wants a commitment, right? But it's also kind of, I think, limiting your ability to grow as a person, as an individual, if you're doing fuck shit all the time.
As the person doing the cheating?
Yeah, even as the cheater, like, you should be able to take personal accountability and responsibility to be like, if I'm always cheating, I should probably leave this relationship.
Do you think it's sometimes a case of maybe addressing what's making you cheat? Like, it's not always a case of FOMO.
Yeah, that's different. I feel like if it's constant, like you're always cheating, it could be like you have an issue, and it is fear of missing out. Like, any type of attention you get, you gotta indulge in explore it. I know for me, like, and again, I'm talking about my high school relationship. So the fact that I was way too young to be in a serious committed relationship is one thing, but I feel like my self-esteem is one of the reasons why I felt like I would cheat, right? Because it's like anytime I got attention, it felt so good that I was like, oh, I need to explore this. But then it's like I didn't want to leave the relationship either. It's like I wanted to do both.
Yeah.
So it's kind of super selfish.
Yeah, it was, for me, it was definitely just that at some point she just became like a security blanket. It was like very familiar.
Yeah.
I knew what I was getting, even the negative. And I was willing to accept that until I wasn't. So.
Yeah. And I feel like for me, it wasn't like I had intentions of cheating. Like I would tell myself, like, I want to be with you and only you forever. But then the minute an opportunity came, it was like impossible for me to ignore it. Again, young, stupid. And that's another thing. This example of like my behavior in a relationship is literally me in high school. If you're in your 20s and 30s and still dealing with this, like, therapy, self-help, like, something needs to happen for you to like get your shit together, because we too old for that shit. Yeah. Do you have anything else? I have something else. I was thinking about a different relationship when I was a little older.
Signs that it should have come to an end. I do a lot of like comparisons to this relationship, although it's very clearly not a perfect relationship, but I just think of like the things that do bring me joy when it comes to this relationship. And it's like our time together is so important to me. And there would be times where I would be happy if that person wasn't around, not to give me the freedom to do it like dirt, but just be alone.
You were more at peace alone than you were with your partner. Okay. So that's another way to look at it, right? Because sometimes they're like, what are the red flags? The things that are happening that are a no-no. But you also got to think about what's not happening, what you're not getting in the relationship, and if it's a deal breaker for you or not, right? I know for me in my last relationship before you, I knew he wasn't the one for me. Like, my brain knew, my logical side knew it. And I would, in the relationship, get frustrated, break up, leave, But then the minute I felt a little lonely, it was just so easy for me to just pick up the phone and make up. Like, I literally just refused to be alone, I guess.
That's interesting.
And the signs in that relationship, that the reason I knew he wasn't the one for me, is that what we wanted out of life and the lifestyle we wanted to live was so completely opposite that we would like just bumping heads, right? And then I felt that since the lifestyle I wanted to live was the right one, that I could somehow convince him, like explain it enough, let him see my version of it, and that eventually any person who's smart will be like, okay, that makes sense. I want to do what Stephanie wants to do. But that's so controlling and impossible to do. You have to be compatible to a certain degree. You can't convince people of living a lifestyle that they don't find joy in, don't find interest in. And to be a little more specific, like he was a very like guy's guy and like wanted to be out late, hanging out with his friends till 6 a.m. And to me, that felt like corny. Like, why? You can have friends, but can you come home at a decent hour?
Yeah.
But to him, it was like, what do you mean? That's just what guys do. Like, you know? And it's like, it's not that he was wrong. It's just it wasn't a lifestyle I was willing to put up with.
I feel like you never even inquired that part about me. Like you just, you're saying it's important now, but I don't think I don't recall a time where you asked me what my stand was on that.
I guess I didn't have to ask. Like it was just kind of, I saw the way you lived and the way work was important. And that was another thing. Like his work ethic wasn't as strong. Like he lost a couple of jobs here and there, and it was always like playing the victim. Like, oh, it's because of this, that. And then it's like after a while, you're like, if you keep losing your job, like maybe it's you doing something wrong, right? But then that would make me to sound insensitive and like a bitch and like I don't understand. But work ethic is also something very important to me. And again, I didn't say like, what's your work ethic like? I kind of just saw it in your behavior. And I think in terms of your lifestyle and you wanted to be out all night or not, I just saw it in your day-to-day living.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So do you have any like, for other people, what would you suggest are the signs for them to leave?
Like I said, if you find more joy being apart than together, I think that's a big time to go. I think if you don't want to, this could be a little slippery slope, what I'm about to say.
Oh God, I'm scared.
Yeah, I know I'm always pushing the boundaries, but I feel like if you don't want to show the world your partner,
if you're embarrassed,
I personally think that's like it's just a matter of time.
You know what? That's so real. That's so real. I noticed like in my last relationship, like I always felt like when I'd introduce my partner to people, I kind of had to give a little heads up or like be like, oh, like he's so nice or like whatever. Like I would hype it up because I felt like people can tell that we weren't compatible.
They would see right through it.
Yeah. So I was always like doing like a pregame before he met people. And that's a good sign, like a good tip, babe. Like if you don't want people to see you with him and you're not so proud or just like overjoyed, like this is my partner, like that's a sign.
Yeah. What do you got?
I got to think about like if bad days are inevitable, right? Even in your personal relationship with yourself, you're going to have bad days. In relationships, you're going to have bad days. But do the bad days outnumber the good? Are you constantly in conflict more than you are at peace? That's a sign. When your personal boundaries aren't respected, they're constantly crossed all the time. When you're stuck, meaning you can't grow personally. I felt like in my previous relationship the ugliest version of me was always triggered and out. Like I would get so frustrated and so enraged that like it pushed me to be like the nastiest version of me. Angry, low blows. Like I would say the meanest and nastiest things just because I felt like, there's nothing else I can say or do to make you see that like you're being fucking dumb, you know? And so then it would just be that. Like I couldn't explain how I was feeling or how I felt like I was so misunderstood that I would resort to just being nasty. And I knew that's not who I wanted to be.
Do you think you knew that in those moments, or is it hindsight?
As I was being nasty, I didn't know, right? That I feel like my mind is just working. Like it's just what I do. But in between, like when the storm will pass and I was in calm, like I would reflect like, this isn't who I want to be. I don't want to be known as this person. I
think a lot of, I guess we'll call them red flags, in my previous relationship weren't as clear to me until I started dating you. And I'm doing comparisons, right? So even you talked about like goals for the future and drive. I don't feel like I've been pretty open and vocal about how much of where I am currently and where I want to go is because of your push. So I never had that push in my previous relationship. So it's hindsight, right? So I'm like, damn, she never even gave a fuck. Like,
but that's also not necessarily a red flag on her end. It's also like you had to take some personal accountability. I agree, for that
but
too.
I hold some. I think having a good partner is someone who pushes you and not necessarily is like forcing you
or is your parent.
Exactly. But I think, and I know for a fact there are things that you don't want to do sometimes, and I give you that nudge and you get it done. So I don't think it's a parent role. It's just that's what you're supposed to do in a supportive relationship.
And also growth, like personal growth too, right? Emotional, mental. Like I said, I was being the worst version of myself in that relationship, and it was triggered so often. With you is like, I make it my top priority for that person, that version of me, not to show up. And I'm super intentional about being better for you. And I feel like that's what I needed. I needed someone that forced me to shine the better side of me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What else did I write? That this applies to all relationships, including friendships, family, right? I know I've told you, like, I have a cousin that when I was growing up, although she was much older than me, we were very close. And like, it felt like she's my big cousin, but we're still so cool. And like, it was like having an older person around that you can ask for advice as an adult, but still feels like a friend. But then as I got older, and they're obviously getting even older than I did, they never matured. And I felt like, although I was younger, I was outgrowing her. And that happens. Like if someone's stagnant, and that doesn't mean necessarily financially or career-wise, but just as a person. Mentally, right? Like even like in high school, the gossiping, the mean girl shit. If you're in your 20s and 30s still just being super gossipy and nasty and judgy, like, I don't want to be your friend. Like, we got to stop that shit.
Yeah.
And the same applies in relationships. I know a lot of our listeners are still with their high school sweethearts, but I'm sure they're not the same version of themselves as when they met.
For the better.
Exactly. So definitely that's a sign of like, I gotta go. Another one is if you're constantly thinking, should I go? And you're like waiting for this ultimate sign, this ultimate push, like stop. If you're constantly asking yourself, like, should I leave this relationship? You probably should.
Yeah.
Like if it's a constant thing you're like contemplating and you don't feel like you're in the right place, let it go.
That's a big one. The fact that's huge, actually. The fact that you're even pondering, should I be here? That might be a tell.
Mm-hmm. It could also be a sign of like immaturity in the sense of like, fight or flight. And you're always like at the sign of any type of conflict, you're trying to run and leave. That's one thing. So that's also like, maybe that's not the issue. Maybe the person isn't an issue. Maybe you are if you constantly want to leave. But I think you know the difference. Am I constantly wanting to leave because I don't know how to handle conflict, or because this person is crossing my boundaries? Is this person not respecting my boundaries, not setting any personal boundaries for themselves? Like you'll know the difference. You'll feel the difference.
Yeah.
All right. You ready for Did You Know?
You mean so y'all can relate? I'm not gonna let you do this again. There was one episode, maybe like 5 or 6 episodes ago,
and I said,
she kept saying, "We gotta, did you know?" And
my God.
I must have blanked out at that moment because I was like, "All right, baby, hit us with it." But she was talking about so y'all can relate, and a few people. I think Ashley was like, "I heard it," and I was like, "When are you gonna fix yourself?"
And someone else said it, and I literally just said it right now. I didn't even realize.
It's all good. But listen, I caught it. I'm here. That's why you have a supportive partner.
Exactly.
I got your back.
If you stop, catching it, then maybe we got to break up. He said, maybe not. Also, y'all can relate. Last time, a lot of people liked when you read it. Do you want to read it again?
Yeah, let's do it.
Here.
This was not planned.
It wasn't, but clearly I'm like fucking up, so I'm gonna let you read it.
On the laptop, I can't lose my spot.
There's like this last little piece. Oh, right there.
Okay, gotcha. You ready?
Yes.
Does this have a title?
No, I forgot to title it. My bad.
All right. Here we go. I need help. My brother has been with this girl for about 5 years. They have 2 kids and they live together. Before the kids were even thought of, there were signs of DV.
Domestic violence.
Myself and my mother have begged my sister-in-law to leave, but she hasn't. If she doesn't leave, she always seems to find her way back. If she does leave, she always seems to find her way back. It's so bad that they don't even call us anymore for assistance. So my family kind of just goes on with life like we don't know they are abusive.
2 things. The domestic violence was even happening before the children were involved, and now there's children involved. Handle that shit before you involve kids, before you get pregnant. Like,
what? So, and when you say handle, you mean get the fuck out of
get
Dodge,
out,
right?
or yeah.
Oh, because
why? What were you thinking?
I'll be a hypocrite if I said domestic violence, run, end the relationship. But it's what happens from that first sign of it that dictates whether or not you should be in a relationship with that person.
Yeah.
So, but to have multiple cases of DV, that's like, whoa, years of DV.
Yeah. And then you get children involved.
And so the person who wrote this is their brother. I think I'll hold off what I want to say till the end, but yeah, okay.
Another part in there is like they used to call the family for assistance. Like I guess maybe they'd get into a fight or something would happen and they would call. Now they stop calling. So I feel like
the brother's girlfriend.
Yeah, stop calling. So it's like now they're hiding it, which could be even scarier.
Yeah. Recently, my brother kicked her out in her pajamas without her phone, so she had to ask the neighbors to use theirs. She called her mother. Then her mother called my parents. It was a huge deal. I stayed with her and helped her pack her and her kids' stuff. She told me that she wouldn't go back. Lo and behold, she's back.
So now there's kids involved and you kicked her out on the street with nothing.
Is there... So without reading the rest of this, is there any, could he ever recover from this?
No, honestly, like that's a new low. I feel like, I think we had an episode about that. Like, when is it okay to kick someone out of your house, right? Like that's very, a hurtful thing to do to someone. It takes away your safety, your security.
It's childish.
Yeah, it's childish. And let alone the mother of your kids. And while her kids are in the house, And what are they doing when all of this is happening?
Yeah. The other day, I was doing her hair and apparently they got into a fight. I only heard the beginning because I wasn't in the room, but when I did get out there with them, I witnessed him slap her. So now it's not even like behind closed doors. I might do something to you. It's like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care who's around.
Here, I'm going to smack you in front of people. Oh, my God.
Because, in a lot of domestic violence cases, that's the case where it's behind closed doors for the most part. And in front of people, it's just like happy couple.
That's what scares me. Like, if he slapped her in front of people, what is he doing behind closed doors or after she left that night? How bad did it get?
Okay. Look, I do not agree with their lifestyle. I've tried to bring my other brothers and my parents into this, but nothing has changed. Her whole family knows too, but nothing happens. And I just don't want everyone to give up because it's their safety on the line. Plus, they have kids. This is in all caps.
Okay. I'm just frustrated because it's like, I want to know the details of her personal relationship with the brother. Because it's a lot about she needs to leave. Yes, but it's like he needs to stop hitting her.
Yeah. There's one more sentence and then I'll give my opinion. I truly don't know what to do, especially when my brother doesn't want to do therapy and it seems that my sister-in-law is so manipulated that she doesn't want to leave. Any advice, please? This eats at me every day.
What are you thinking?
So I was holding back judgment just until we read the whole thing, but even from the first paragraph, I was kind of putting not blame on, not that it's his fault that he's being abusive, but you have to own that at the end of the day, you're aware of what's going on. The sister, the person who wrote this. And it just kind of sounds like no one's taking it that serious. Because if this were anyone else but your brother, cops would be called. This would be serious. Every moment that there was a sign of something going on, cops would be called. And eventually, although we have strong opinions on what cops may or may not do, eventually they're going to do something if you're calling all 10, 20 times, right? But it sounds like to me that they're hesitant because it's family, because it's a brother.
And it's also like sometimes you end up being the bad one. Like if she called the cops, she becomes the outcast in the family. How dare you? Why did you call the cops? This is family business. And even the person who gets abused probably doesn't want the cops involved. I know for me personally, I'm like you, babe. Like if I would have saw somebody slap my friend, my sister, anyone, like I'm calling 911 because I don't play that shit and it could get dangerous. And sometimes that's the push people need to take it seriously. I know that definitely helped one of my friends like leave an abusive relationship, like finally like calling the cops. But I also hear what you're saying, like that fear of like, if I call the cops to come to a domestic dispute, like it could get dangerous. And I also see how that plays a role in people's decision making, whether to call the cops or not.
I'll be honest, I wasn't even thinking that. I was more so thinking that sometimes cops don't take it serious, but but that is a very good point that you bring up. Assuming that this is a person of color, you are hesitant because you never know, it could go left easily.
And if he's angry and upset when the cops get there.
And although I wholeheartedly believe that he's a piece of shit, I don't think he should be dead.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I get that argument, but I was more so thinking that they wouldn't do the right thing in the sense of prosecuting.
And it becomes a headache, right? Because we think about, call the cops, leave. She's built a life with this person, has children with this person. We don't know financially what leaving looks like for her. Also, you become so dependent. Like, leaving isn't that easy. It isn't like, okay, I'm done with you. Like, it impacts a lot. I agree with you about the family. Like, well, what are y'all doing? And sometimes you got to cut people off. maybe you have to set the boundary of saying, like, clearly this is affecting her and is eating at her. Why are you at their house just doing her hair? Don't put yourself in that space if you're with two people who refuse to change.
Because there's other ways other than your words to say, I don't agree with this, right? Mm-hmm. And that one major way is not being around them.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all just gonna stay together and keep, or while he's still whooping your ass. Okay, I'm good. Hopefully I'll see my nieces and nephews.
But then I could also understand how then that leads to guilt of like, what if something happens and I wasn't there? That's fine. You got to call the cops. So
yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Because even now, I say this now, cool, level-headed, but there's not many cases where I'm going to lose my cool and get physical with someone. I'm just going to call the cops. I'm too grown.
Yeah.
I'll be 35 this year.
Unless your life is, your age now. Unless your life is literally on the line, there's no reason to put your hands on anyone. So now when you're like your romantic partner, you're just slapping the shit out of people. Like, for what reason? Yeah,
brother or not, there's no way I'm respecting any of my siblings if they were doing any of that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. So just they got to feel it somehow.
Yeah.
So I understand it's a tough situation, and it's tough, but
I feel like she should set the boundary of like, I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be around. Sorry. Y'all don't want to take the steps to fix this?
Yeah, because listen, after hearing everything that he's done, I personally don't feel like there's anything worth
it's not
repairing.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say for her, it's not a deal breaker, the girlfriend. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fine. What steps are you taking to heal from this, to make sure that this doesn't happen again? Mm-hmm. Because if you're not doing anything, then to me, it's just a matter of time.
Saying he refuses to go to therapy.
So, yeah.
Is he doing any work on his own? Does he even feel like he has a problem? Like, does he want to change?
I forget who it was. It doesn't matter because I won't say their name. But I remember someone referring to their partner. Sorry, River, don't be sleeping. So what I was saying is I remember there was someone who had a domestic violence situation with a previous partner of theirs. Mm-hmm. And when years went by and they were healed and did the work and they were just being co-parents, the realization, and I think even you have mentioned it once, is that although things look good now and they could potentially get back together, she just may be a trigger for him, right? Mm-hmm. And that might be the case here. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he could do the work and all that stuff, but...
I'm glad you healed, but be with someone else.
Exactly. That's basically what I was trying to say. So, do the work and hopefully you'll be better for your next partner, but I just don't think...
They should stay together.
This goes back to our, when do you know it should be over?
Yeah. If there's domestic violence.
Yeah.
Any type of abuse, gotta go.
And it sucks because the advice is coming from an outsider. Mm-hmm. It's not like the girlfriend's writing us or the boyfriend's like, I can't stop hitting her. It's the sister. Mm-hmm. So, like, what advice do you give?
I think... make sure your family holds him accountable.
That's the biggest thing.
Like, don't have him around and it be cool, like, y'all knowing what he does, We talk about, like, toxic masculinity, like, rape culture, like, men needing to hold their friends accountable in situations of, consent or the lack of consent or whatever. We need to hold people that we love accountable. You can't hurt people and then me and you are cool. Like, no. The same way I don't want to be friends with, like, a thief. I don't want to be friends with someone who abuses their partner. I don't care if you're family. Like, no, I'm not tolerating that shit. I don't want to be around it. I feel like in you even just being for that person, it's enabling them. Because they're like, well, it's not that bad because I still have friends. I still have family that care about me. So it's not that big a deal that beating my wife.
Like at worst, he's getting a few eyebrows raised, but it's not changing his day to day. He still have his friends and family,
and it's also probably enabling him to manipulate the partner because he's like, look, no one cares. You could call, you could do whatever, which is probably another reason maybe she stopped calling for help, because it's like no one really does anything at the end of the day.
And listen, at the end of the day, it's your brother doing this, but the unfortunate truth is that you got to take some responsibility, because you are, in a way, enabling him by not holding him accountable. I'm not saying you're as bad as him.
No, absolutely not.
There has to be consequences. And
yeah.
if the consequences aren't going to be prison, then it's on you and your family to figure out something, because then all you're saying is that it's acceptable or she deserved it.
And I got to protect those kids, because even if the kids aren't abused, having an abused parent is not healthy. It's going to affect them. Witnessing abuse. And then they're going to be upset if it happens randomly in the middle of the night, and then Child Protective Services take these kids. So yeah, cut him off, and if you know something happens, call for help.
Yeah, that's the advice.
And also be ready to be an actual support system for this girl, because what happens is a lot of people like, leave him, but then no one wants to help when they leave. Like, it's not going to be an easy thing to do. And be a single mom.
What does that look like? What does removing him from the situation look like for her?
And how are you going to help make it a little easier for her, so that choice seems more doable?
At the end of the day, it's your brother and you've known him longer, but who's your loyalty to in terms of, like, you have, I don't know, nieces and nephews?
Yeah. And just what's right and wrong. Like, yeah, he's your brother, but it's wrong to do that. So what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I won't even enable my kids doing it. You know what I mean? So, no. A sad situation.
Yeah. Well, best of luck. Hopefully we get a follow-up from you and there's some positive change.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for writing us through our website. So if you ever want to submit your story or ask for advice, you could go on our website and submit something through the contact us feature.
And you could put any email, so it can be anonymous.
Yes, you could put a fake email address, an anonymous. What's the one that someone used?
test@test.com.
Yeah, test@test.com, and it was perfect. So that way it's even anonymous from us. But if you're okay with us knowing who you are, that's fine. But make sure you write, keep me anonymous.
But we always do.
Also, yeah, we always do. But make sure you write that it's a also y'all can relate submission, like that I can read it on the show. So I think when they say that, it gives me the okay, they know I'm gonna read it on the show. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you have anything you want to say, baby?
Just patreon.com/we still like each other. We have an interactive recap coming up this week. I'm not sure. We're probably Thursday, but either Thursday or Friday. That's been the popular days. Support the shop. We are getting the basement done, and it's obviously expensive, and every purchase helps us. Yeah, if you're not aware, the basement's going to be our new studio. Mm-hmm. And it's coming along. Knock on wood. I want to say we'll be down there in a month. In a month? At tops. Okay. I like that. A month is enough time. I think it might be sooner, but I'm giving us a month. A month. Yeah. So yeah, again, support us at the shop. Purchase some stickers. Purchase a t-shirt. And help us continue to keep We Still Like Each Other alive. Yes, and if you're listening on any podcast apps, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review. Anything less will get you on the next episode. Mm-hmm. Thank you for everyone who's already done it. I've seen a few new ones. I forgot to share them with you, but it's humbling. Thank you. My love. Daddy. Do you still like me? I do. Do you still like me? Yes. I don't like the hesitation, but whatever. I do. I like you. I like them too. Peace, y'all. Peace.